Welcome to Balance 365 Life Radio, a podcast that delivers honest conversations about food, fitness, weight, and wellness. I'm your host, Annie Breeze, along with co-founder Jennifer Campbell. Together, we have a team of personal trainers and nutritionists who coach thousands of women daily and are on a mission to help women feel happy, healthy, and confident in their bodies on their own terms. Join us here every week as we discuss hot topics pertaining to our physical, mental, and emotional well-being with amazing guests. Enjoy! If there's one thing we know for certain, it's that people are very confused about weight loss. They shop around for plans. They jump from one way of eating to another. They join communities. They buy meal plans from people whose bodies they aspire to have. They follow people who've lost weight and try to do what they're doing, and on and on and on. What's the problem? We're going to dive into that today because there's actually one very important thing that you need to understand about weight loss before anything else can make sense. But before we get into it, if you are tired of spinning your wheels and want to lose weight and keep it off, you need to get in our program. Enrollment is currently closed, but you can get on the wait list for the next time we open our doors. And the link to that is in our show notes, my friends. Enjoy. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Are you doing okay? It's a bit early for you.
Yeah, it's super early.
I think we both might have a little bit of that morning voice, but if people want a little behind the scenes peek, know that most of the podcasts are recorded in the wee early hours of the morning for us, but earlier for Jen than me since she's on the Pacific Coast.
Yes, but it's all good. It's still quiet in my house, so it works.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do it. There's fewer interruptions, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we are talking about the most important thing to understand about weight loss. And spoiler alert, it's probably not what people think it's going to be, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So they're going to have to listen all the way to the end to find out what it is because first we got to talk about what most people are doing when it comes to weight loss. What would you say most people are doing when it comes to weight loss?
I would say that most people treat weight loss like a race with a finish line. And they may not even realize they're doing this. But what it looks like is they plan, they go hard, they have a goal weight in mind. Mm-hmm. They reach that goal weight, and then they feel like they can stop.
Yeah.
Right.
So they sprint through that finish line and they're like, give me my medal and my water and let me sit down.
Yeah. Yeah. So the diet is the race and the goal weight is the finish line. But then what?
Mm-hmm. And that's not the only thing we see people doing. We also see people talking about lifestyle changes. And there's some flaws with that too. What do we see when it comes to lifestyle changes?
Oh, just, people are telling themselves they're doing this new diet and they are going to keep it up for life. And it is a lifestyle change for them until they go on holidays, until they get stressed, until their kid's birthday party. Then it's no longer a lifestyle change, right? If it was, it would continue during all of those times.
Yeah, they do these things until they need a break or can justify a break, which I did many times, right? Like, oh, we're on vacation, it's fine, or it's summers, or
right.
Yeah. So what would you say? I know that you have 3 things that predict weight loss failure.
This comes from Josh Hillis's book. And the 3 things that predict weight loss failure are 1, rigid diet rules or perfectionism, 2, moralizing food, or 3, dichotomous thinking, which is black and white thinking. And so if you're doing any of those 3 things, with whatever change you're making in your life to lose weight, those 3 things predict weight loss failure, not success. Even though those are the 3 things that are most often shoved at us as solutions.
I'm thinking about lovingly thinking about all of my girlfriends who know what I do for a living. And they're like, yeah, Annie, I know your way, but I just got to like do this one more time. And
one more race.
Yes. Everything that they do would fall under one of those three categories, if not all three at the same time. And yet they come back and they're like, it didn't work. And I'm like, I know, it's okay. Have a seat.
Yeah, because whatever you're doing to lose weight, you have to do forever to keep those results.
Yes. Yeah. So we know yo-yo diets and yo-yo dieters fail, but the people who simply quit dieting often fail too. Why is that?
Yeah. So we're dieting and then we're not dieting. And there's this, in fact, many people listening to our podcast might have tried to quit dieting. So you've quit the action of dieting, but those people will fail too. Mm-hmm. So you can't just be on or off. You can't just stop dieting and think you'll have success. Because the failure stems from the same patterns, right? You can quit dieting, but still have the thoughts of a dieter. You can still have the feelings of a dieter. And that's what drives this binge and restrict cycle, this yo-yo dieting cycle. And we have so many women come to us and say, I don't understand. This didn't work. I'm out of control. I'm gaining weight. And a lot of them probably head right back to dieting, right? But they are still looking at the world like a dieter. Same thoughts as a dieter, same feelings as a dieter. They have the identity of a dieter.
Which isn't uncommon because dieting has been largely the only solution pushed to us as a means of like weight loss and happiness. And a lot of women just haven't been exposed to another way, right? Like you and I have both had the identity of a dieter at some point as well.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't matter what diet you're on, right? If we come back to those three things that predict weight loss failure: rigid rules, perfectionism, moralizing of food, dichotomous thinking, those you can still be going through those three things in your mind without actually being on, quote unquote, on a diet. Mm-hmm. You can still be moralizing food even when you're not on a diet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the identity of a dieter is tough, right? Again, we've both been there, but some people might resonate with the next few points. But the identity of a dieter is a lot of despair, a lot of erratic, chaotic thinking, probably feeling a lot of overwhelm, victim mindset. We see a lot of that in dieters. I can definitely identify with that. And those who keep looking for the answer. So, plenty of women treat Balance 365 as the answer. Yeah. Right? Rather than an invitation to become someone new, like we intended, to ditch the dieter identity and adopt a new identity.
Yeah. And I also want to be, call out the fact that you might not even realize that you have some of these traits of the identity of a dieter, like the chaotic thinking, until you realize what the other side feels like. Like to have such a calm mindset and thoughts and rational thinking around food versus panic and chaotic and reactive. Once you've explored or experienced the other side of it, you're kind of like, oh my God, how did I ever survive? Like, how did I ever live through those feelings all the time? But when it's all you might not realize how impactful it is.
Yeah. And you really know you're shifting your identity is, I think, when you stop becoming an answer seeker, when you stop looking for the answer, for somebody to tell you how to eat or what to eat, and you start becoming a problem solver. You bring it in-house and you start deciding for yourself what's going to work for you, what's not, what's negotiable for you, what's non-negotiable. We had a woman post the other day in Balance 365, which this might seem very small to people listening, but what I saw was somebody's identity changing. She realized that she can decide what sources of fat she has in her overall diet and what she doesn't. And she said it was like a light bulb went off. And I know I've heard Jen and Annie say this over and over. I have to decide, well, what's negotiable and what's non-negotiable for me. But today it just sunk in. And she decided that day that when she made eggs, she was not going to put yolks in her eggs, but she was going to put cheese. And it wasn't a restrictive choice. It was deciding where she wants her fat to come from in that meal.
And that probably was revolutionary to her.
Totally. Yeah. I remember, I remember being there, so I totally get it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a great segue into what is the solution then? If you have the deity of an identitor,
it's early.
You knew what I meant, but
that was awesome.
The deity of an identitor. The identity of a dieter. Let's try that again. What is the solution? If you're listening, you're like, oh, she's talking about me. They are talking about me. Yeah. What do I need to do instead?
So, and this brings us back to the title of this podcast. The most important thing to understand about weight loss. This is it. You don't arrive at a destination when it comes to weight loss. You become. The most important thing is that your identity starts to shift. Mm-hmm.
This is part of who you are.
It becomes part of who you are. So you become someone totally new. You're taking action differently because you feel differently. And you feel differently because you think in a totally different way. You're no longer doing those three things, right? You no longer have rigid diet rules. You no longer are moralizing food. You no longer are a black and white thinker, right? You're a problem solver. Mm-hmm. All food is good food, right? It's about the amounts. You no longer have diet rules. You're eating all foods.
And what this really, I think what a lot of dieters are trying to do is they try to take different actions, right, to hopefully get different results. And the difference here is that what you just said, Jen, is the different actions are a result of thinking different thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can still think like a dieter and try to take different actions, but those thoughts just keep sliding you back into, like black and white actions, I guess, right? If you're having those black and white thoughts, it ends up being sort of erratic, chaotic actions. Eating all the food, eating none of the food.
Which is exactly why we are not selling meal plans and macro counts and calorie counts, because it is to really like achieve this and sustain it and shift your identity. It's got to be on a deeper level than that.
Yeah. And so for those listening, even those women who are in Balance 365 who are struggling with this, you know what, Annie? I've seen this over and over since working with you, that people obsess over your weight loss, right? For anybody new to the podcast, Annie used to be a size 24. Now she's a size 10, 12. And so many people want to know how Annie got to where she is. And they want to know, I don't know, what you're eating, what exercise plan you did.
Or they don't even realize that I've had a sustainable large amount of weight loss, because the way I live my life appears to be just so integrated and effortless, right? Because we've had that comment too. That's like, no, Annie never used to be a size 24. I don't believe it.
Yeah. I remember somebody emailed asking us for a photo. Because they just did not believe that you used to be a size 24. Yeah.
And even through having my last child, which was now 4 years ago, I gained pregnancy weight and I lost pregnancy weight. And it was just like riding a wave. It was just a simple return to my habits and my foundations of my essentially new identity, right?
Right.
And it was, it wasn't always easy. There were difficult spots and uncomfortable moments, but for the most part, it felt very integrated with who I was.
Yeah, I love that. I always say is that women need to stop studying what you did and they need to start thinking about how you think, right? And I think why a lot of people are so shocked when they hear how much weight you've lost is because you are not your stereotypical like social media influencer who's lost a lot of weight, that all you post about is your weight loss and before and after photos and your food for the day and what you're doing for exercise, right? Like, you don't post that kind of stuff. I would say you actually post a lot more about identity shift things.
Yeah, it's very much more mindset, like about how I showed up at the gym, even when I didn't want to, and how I'm making decisions based off of my future self versus, my present self, and how maybe I didn't want to go for this sort of meal, but I went for this sort of meal in a good, better, best situation. It's just part of like how I approach decision making versus actually what I'm doing. Because what I'm doing, you can find anywhere, right? Like you can Google that. Like you can Google for the answers, right?
Right.
If that's all you want, like get on Google and find yourself a meal plan.
Yeah. And what I really love about your story is that weight loss became a byproduct of the person you became. Yeah,
absolutely. It was quite exhausting pursuing weight loss for the sake of weight loss. It just felt like a race, versus like this is a process, this is a journey. It's like a road trip. We're getting in the car, and I've got to enjoy the stops along the way, right? And take the scenic route and enjoy the views, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What about you? What would you say is your shift?
Very similar things, right? Even though you and I are very different weights. But for anyone that doesn't know my story, I am actually heavier today than I have been at my leanest. But my weight has also been all over the map. I've been 30 pounds heavier than I am today, and I have been 20 pounds smaller than I am today. And that was just a very chaotic life for me as far as my thoughts, for sure, and my actions, right? I was on a diet or off a diet. If you've listened to any of our previous podcasts, I did like keto or low carb for like a decade. I was not doing keto at all. I was doing all the carbs. So it was a lot of what we talked about here, right? Like moralizing of food, dichotomous thinking, always taking extremes. I had so many rules. I was very much a perfectionist, where today I am the opposite of that. I'm a problem solver. I can I look at my body in a very neutral way, right? I'm not trying to pursue some ideal. I'm happy with what my body is and who I am. And I'm very aware of my genetic disposition, and what's possible for me. And I would say when I was at my leanest weight, it was so unsustainable for me. I have no goals of ever like wanting to get back there, right? I have found a weight that feels comfortable and sustainable for me. And I eat all foods. And my weight isn't my most important thing. I don't get up in the morning and go to the bathroom and then jump on my scale. Like it's sort of something I think about from time to time. And yeah.
Yeah. But I think that one of the most beautiful parts about shifting your identity and becoming a problem solver, at least for me, and I think you might agree, is that when you or I ever wanted to pursue weight loss, we know that we have all the answers and the tools that we need to do that from a place of sustainability and self-love and moderation. And it's, when you're an answer seeker, it can kind of feel like you have these urges of impulses to diet. It can feel like a pop quiz. And you're like, oh my God, I don't actually know the material. But now when we get those impulses, because Jen and I still have, some old ingrained impulses, right? Or thoughts that pop up from time to time. It's like, no, we know exactly how to solve that problem if we want to solve it. Is it even a problem? We're approaching it so differently. And if we want to pursue it, we know exactly how to pursue it. So it's not this like panic reactive, oh my gosh, I got to do all these things. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to put that on the shelf. I'll think about it. If I want it, I'll go get it.
Yeah. It's a calm and reasonableness when it comes to your weight, my weight, our weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I see this, of course, in a lot of our successful Balance 365ers. And my weight now lies in a range. And sometimes I'm on the higher end of that range, and sometimes I'm on the lower end of that range. And it's about a 7-pound range. But there are times when it starts going up into that higher end of the range, and it's kind of staying there. It's not coming back down. And to me, that is a time for me to reflect on, oh, hey, what's going on here? There's something about your habits that needs to change. And do you want to change them right now? Right. But on the flip side, sometimes my weight goes into the lower end of that range and stays there. And that can also mean something's going on with me. Right. Mm-hmm. And so my weight isn't, like this pass or fail thing. I don't jump on the scale anymore and go, can I have a good day or not? Yeah. Can I love myself today or not? It is honestly just a data point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So the most important thing to understand when it comes to weight loss is you need to stop treating it like a race with a finish line and start thinking about how you don't arrive, you become.
You become. Yes.
So it's a very Star Wars. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Approach.
Good work.
Yeah. Thanks. Wonderful, Jen. Anything to add before we hop off?
No, I think that's it.
I think we nailed it. So I hope that was informative, and I can't wait to see what kind of identity shifts people are having.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. If your mind has been blown while listening to this podcast, just wait until you work with us. Let us help you level up your health and wellness habits and your life inside Balance 365 coaching. Head on over to balance365.co to join coaching.